to call this part 2 of About My Horns. Many of you have probably already seen my other video. I showed all the different horns that I play, and I said one thing in that video, and it was that one horn at the time that I was making that video wasn't working. And it's amazing because the horn that wasn't working is the most important horn in a way, because it's where I started. Almost started. I actually started on Lyricon, but from Lyricon I moved quickly into the Steiner in 1975. And I have 2 of those instruments with me right here. This one right here. It's got a canister, it's got the canister, and right from the beginning, the whole concept of moving the canister and getting your embouchure moving between fourths and fifths with the button. Very cool. And back in the day, what was so fun when I was in the Stickband is that we did all kinds of material that, to us was brand new. We actually played, one of the fun gigs that we did is we actually played at a light show, a laser light show, and we would create all of the music for the images that were going up. It was very popular, and we always sold out. It was fun times. And I played the Chapman stick with my buddy Bob Culbertson, and I also played this instrument, the Steiner. And I'm going to show you something on this that's not on the new ones. I'm going to show you the new ones. And you can do this on the new ones, but not in the same way. There's a button here. So that button's kind of cool. You can get glissandos, and you can even do kind of fun things like this. Now I have 2 of these, as I was saying. I'm going to grab the other one now. Same thing. This one, it's just in better condition. The one that I was just playing is the one that I played back in Stickband. And one of the first things that used to go on them is that there's a kind of a rubbery little pad in the back here, but it's glued on and it gets worn off easy, but you can get really cool vibrato with it. See the idea? Kind of like the button. But those are analog synths, they're not MIDI. That's how far, as I'm saying, back in 1975. So here, I'm not going to start with that one yet. I'm going to start with this one. This was the one that I said in the other video that wasn't working. I had to send it to Matt at patchman.com, and he got it really working well. Some of the cool things that he did with it was he added new rollers. The rollers that are on this were not the original rollers, and they're a little beefier and they move really nice. I really like the smoothness of it. Now, since I have this instrument in my hand, here's where things really get great, because those Steiners were awesome back in the 70s up into the 80s that I played them. But when I could get a hold of a MIDI one, well, changed the game, because now any sound that we can patch and cool sound that we can get, we start to bring our personality into it. Just like a singer, all the different singers have different sounding voices, and that gives them a signature, that gives them their thing. And that's part of what this is all about. Being a synthesizer player of any type, this is a wind controller and is controlling a synthesizer, the same as my keyboard here, and I have a very similar range as the keyboard, which really kind of wipes out acoustic horns. Not that I think there's anything wrong with acoustic horns, because I love them. As I said in the other video, I have wonderful friends that are fantastic players, and I could only dream of playing as well as they do, and I love their instruments. But what's cool about this instrument, again, is that you start to get different patches. This is a flute patch, obviously. Now, if I change the patch, which I'm going to do, I'm going to put this up here. For you synthesizer people, this is a JV1010, Roland JV1010 with a super duper popped up there patchman.com chip in it. And now we'll listen to what we have. So now I'm a trombone. Now here's the interesting thing. I want to explain about playing this instrument. So I'm going to use the analogy of a drum. You know, when a drummer is playing on a snare drum and then plays the same exact things on a tom-tom or on a floor tom or on a cymbal, the way the sticks bounce, the way they react back at him is different. And so as a drummer, you have to start to learn how to feel the different tensions, so to speak, that you feel on the drums. Well, that's a pretty good analogy for explaining what's happening here on this horn. If I'm playing this trombone patch, I'm going to get a different rebound or a return. The notes are going to decay in a different way. And so you have to practice feeling what it feels like to play that instrument. So every time you change a patch, you sort of have to become that instrumentalist. Also, all of us that are playing these instruments, if you're really dedicated, you start even studying those particular things that are happening on an instrument. If you have a violin patch, you're going to start looking at violin music and thinking about how a violin player really plays and how he plays triplets and how things slur together. Or same thing on a trombone or on a trumpet. Now I'm going to pick one more sound here. So I picked another sound, this time muted trumpet. I think of this as kind of the Miles Davis muted trumpet sound. But what's really cool about this is that as I go down in range, it turns into, I think, more like a wood clarinet. So I'm in this muted trumpet sound. Sounds more like a clarinet, right? Now here we're going to the trumpet. Now notice I'm playing, as I said, a different Steiner. These are called EVIs. This is an EVI Steiner made actually by Niles Steiner. I'm proud to have one of those. Now this is the new one, and this is the great promise for everybody out there, because it took quite a while to be able to get a hold of one of these. Niles is a fantastic genius, and he's always doing different things, and one of the things he was doing was making these instruments for people, but you had to wait quite a while to get one because of Niles being so busy in his various projects. Now we have Johann Berglund, and Johann is making these instruments, and they're very much designed the same way as the other, but there's fun, really cool additional things. Now I can't even explain them all. Johann could probably do a much better job than me, but in my layman's terms, I'm going to tell you some of the things that I love about this new instrument. Here's the number one thing I love the most. There's a digital readout in the back. So when you start programming on this instrument, you can see what you're doing. That's gigantic to be able to do lots of cool things. So that's very cool. The instrument's a little smaller, and when I first picked it up, I went, oh, But you know, it's not really much smaller than the old Steiners. You know, the old Steiner, yeah, still a little bit longer, but kind of the same feel as far as size is concerned. So that didn't bother me at all. So now another cool feature that's with both of these, I just switch back and forth. I like playing both of these, try to give you a little bit of a look at both of them. But as you can see, it doesn't matter which one I play, it accesses the same sounds. There's just some things on each of these instruments that feel a little bit different for me. Now I wanted to talk about these posts that are sticking up here. They're actually notes. So when I take this one, with my finger down here, I'm in concert pitch right now, so that's an F sharp, a G sharp, get this. Very nice, huh? Or I can get like a major third here. So when I do that, I'm going F, G, A, G, F. And then if I do this one, that's an E minor arpeggio. So if you're thinking about how, you know, I can go up like a major scale and thirds there, or I can do a half step chromatics, or I can start playing intervals, chords up and down, I was going to say the neck, I'm also a guitar player, up and down the Steiner's range. And so this is my Steiner video in relationship to all my other horns, and you can look at the other horn video to see all the other horns I play. But these were the beginning, and they're still the end too, because I play these more than any of the other horns. But I do like having the various fingerings on the other instruments. Little subtle differences of bends and slurs and getting raspy sounds. I can do different things on different instruments. You can probably do everything on one instrument if you understand how to program everything enough. But because I have the luxury of having all of these different instruments, it's been fun for me to like pick them up and play them at different times. And I have some at home and some here in my studio, so I can always be practicing. Anyway, there you have it. This is my other horn video, part 2 of my electric horns.